guys, and as usual, welcome to another kit review. So today, as you can see, we're having a look at a kit from Italeri. It's in 1/48 scale, and the kit number is 2808, and it is, as you can see, Italeri's Opel Blitz Tankwagen, Kfz.385. This particular kit that you see here, the Battle of Britain one, came out in 2020, although the kit itself originally came out in 2010. And as you can see, this one had a sale price on it for $30. I managed to get it for around $24, which is not a bad price considering that these particular kits, 1/48 scale in Australia, normally range from anywhere from $45 up to $70, depending on the retailer, which is a lot of money for a 1/48 scale truck. This kit is also available in 1/35 scale, although I haven't seen it for quite a while. The 1/35 scale one came out in 2012, and the kit number for that one, if you're interested, is 6467. It's exactly the same vehicle, only in 1/35 scale. And surprisingly enough, the last time I saw it in Australia, which is probably last year sometime, it was $55. So literally, you can almost pick up the 35th scale Tankwagen for the same price as a 48, depending on whether you want it to go along with your 48 scale aircraft or your 35th scale aircraft. So as you can see, it's a Tankwagen. These were airfield refuelers for every type of German aircraft you can think of. In this instance, it's refueling a Ju-87, while 3 more take off in the background, but I have got shots of it refueling HS-129s, Ju-88s, Heinkels, you name it. If it needed fuel, one of these would be on hand somewhere. All right, so as you can see, this is a special Battle of Britain one. Maybe that's why the price went up. I do remember the original one came out at around $30, so maybe that's why this one was on special. I don't know. But yeah, not a bad little pickup if you can get it cheap. Really nice kit to put alongside your 48 scale aircraft to give them a bit of scale and a bit more depth to your shelf display. All right, so let's have a look at the rest of the box. Usual warnings, etc. And you've got here in multiple languages a basic history of the Opel Blitz Tankwagen. On the side, you'll see this is Italeri's kit number 2807, Battle of Britain Ju-87 Stuka. Perfect match. On the back is your basic color layout for the Tankwagen. Naturally enough, dark panzer grey for early in the war, later on dark yellow with any kind of camouflage you want over the top of it, depending on where the airfield was stationed. And this is actually the Decals variants that you get for France in 1940, 2 Eastern Front. That one says Western Front, but I'm pretty sure it says in the instructions Eastern Front, and 1 Western Front, so I'm assuming Western Europe, overall dark yellow. Okay, so let's have a look and see what I got for my money. Open her up. Decal sheet, loose inside. That appears to be, yes, that's the acetate windows pre-cut and the chassis. This appears to be the doors and the front of the Tankwagen and the wheels. And this is your plastic wheels, by the way, and the actual tanker section and instructions. Okay, so in a second we'll have a look at those instructions, the decals and the windscreens. So let's have a look at the instructions. On the front you have a repeat of the information on the side of the box, which is basic rundown of Opel Blitz trucks and what the Tankwagen was used for and where in various languages. overleaf, of course. You've got your sprue layout, your color codes, fairly straightforward. Overall dark grey or dark yellow, plus of course bits and pieces painted. And then we get started on the chassis and the differentials, etc. going together. You've got your wheels, they go on the chassis. This is the interior of the cab, your seats, your brake lever, gear lever, etc. It's the front, of course. Then that all goes together. The doors, so the doors, of course, in the front all get clear. I'm not going to call it glass because it is just plastic acetate. Here you have the doors. Now, you can, if you wanted to, cut these doors down and have them open, which is quite common on these. You could even, if you wanted to, leave the top off and have it open cab. Quite a common thing with these tank wagons. That all goes on the chassis, of course, with the main back part. Then you've got your tank section, which is made up of, as you can see, 5 different parts, all going together on the back here. Then you've got your refueling bits and pieces, headlights, and various other fittings, spade, etc. going on the front. This is the back, so you can have these, if you want to, you can have it all sealed up so you don't see any of the pumping equipment, or you will need to cut it open so that you can have it. So that's one side. So literally you're going to have to cut both sides of the single doors down the center so you can fold them open. But definitely use your photo references as to how those doors actually sat in real life when they were open. Then you've just got your, unusually, exhaust pipe and drive shaft going on the bottom of the truck as a last step rather than one of the early steps. And there you have it, she's finished. Fairly straightforward, 11 steps. Then you've got your color suggestions, which is overall Panzer Grey in France 1940. This is the one that's shown on the back of the box as Western Front, but here it just says unknown unit, presumably Eastern Front. From 1943 onwards, overall dark yellow, camouflaged how you want it. This one has a decal that goes on the front, which is red and white stripes, but Italeri doesn't exactly explain why you want to put that on there. It doesn't also give you any units for these particular vehicles or where they were stationed or any other information like that. And the last one is an interesting pattern, red, brown, dark green over dark yellow. So camouflaging these, it all depended on whereabouts they were stationed and who had the time and energy to actually camouflage them. Alright, so that's the instructions. Let's have a look at the decals. So here are the decals, really nice decals actually. There is the red and white. Now that's glowing in this light, but it's actually a darker red. Red and white for the front bonnet of that Eastern Front. You do get these markings as bonus markings, so it says. You've got number plates, compliance plates, you've even got the pressure numbers for above the wheels and tyres. So really nice detail on this. And of course number plates depending on whereabouts you want this tank wagon to be stationed. So these are actually Luftwaffe dive bomber Ju-87 nose markings. They may or may not have been put on the side of the tank wagon. That was entirely up to the crews. What you've got here is, if I'm right, that one is the 3 STG-1, and this and this are the same. This is 2 STG3, if I remember rightly. They're just variants on a theme for that particular JU87 squadron. Alright, so I'll give you a shot of that so you can have a good look at it. But that's the decals. In a second, we'll have a look at the actual sprues. So let's have a look at the sprues. And what we look at first, and I'll see if I can get this through so you can actually see what it is. You probably see it better in the still anyway. This is your acetate windows, front windows, side windows, back windows for the cab, plus I believe headlights as well. It does have a backing sheet on it to protect it, but it is pre-cut to a certain extent, so you just have to peel it off and very carefully glue these in. So that's quite nice. That will make sure that these are nice and clear and they don't get scratched in the packaging, so I do like that. So I'll give you a shot of that. And next we'll have a look at, this is your main chassis, so engine of course, main framework, everything, but it is a one piece, which means it's going to be quite strong and solid, and that gives you a good idea of exactly how long this kit is. It's quite a reasonable size truck to go next to your 48 scale German aircraft. So give you a shot of that and then we'll move on to something else. So next I'll show you these. So these are both exactly the same, and these are your tires, and they are not vinyl. They're actually plastic. There's no markings on the tires. There is a kind of tread pattern because they do go back to back, of course. So two front tires, and the rest are for the back of the truck. So really nice. Plastic, most unusual, but I can't see you having any problems with these. So that's an interesting idea, better than vinyl little tires for these. I do like that. So next up we'll have a look at these two. So these are exactly the same. So I'll put this one aside. And as you can see, this is just framework fittings for the chassis and your wheel hubs, but really very finely done. There's no flash on it, and a really nice looking hooks and things like that on here. That's a little tool which is going to disappear if I'm not too careful. So let's have a look. It has already disappeared from this one, so I must have a hunt around and see if I can find them. But I do like that. Very fine, very nicely done. Just going to be something to be very, very careful of. I might put that one straight back in the bag so I don't lose it. All right, so let's carry on. So the next sprue out is, as you can see, the main tank section. This is the back of the truck, the sides, differentials, and the back of the pumping section. That's the front, of course. These are your doors, and that, of course, is the top. So let's have a look. Really nice detail. Really, really nice detail. So I'd have a look on the internet and see if I can find photos of the back of one of these open and check how they've been painted if possible. The doors, of course, as you can see on the back here, they're marked down the middle, so if you cut that there, you can then have the doors open so you can see all of that. But really nicely done, very fine work, no flash that I've seen so far, and minimum cleanup along the mold lines, which is always a joy for a small vehicle like this. This, of course, is your suspension and diffs, and the sides. So really beautiful detail. Really, I'm quite happy with this one. I'm glad I picked it up at that cheap price. I wouldn't want to spend $50, $55, $60 on it, but definitely if you can get one of these cheap, definitely worth it. All right, so that's almost the last sprue. And this is the last sprue. So as you can see, this is your main cabin area. Exhaust pipe, this is the top of the cabin with some really nice detail. Sides of the engine, interior, and instrument panel. So let's have a really close look. So there's your doors. So if you turn it over, you could, if you wanted to, cut along these doors and remove the top parts because they were it was just canvas. So you could remove those and have an open cab and give you an idea of what's inside. Shame to hide all that detail. That's just a standard roll tarp, front axle, suspension, steering wheel, spare wheel. There is your radiator grille with, you can't quite see, but it doesn't actually say Opel Blitz on it, but you can tell by the emblem it's an Opel Blitz. This is the top of the cabin, of course. Here's your front with the windscreen wipers and the back section. So the whole top of the front cabin was canvas, and it could be manipulated or left off completely, depending on how you wanted to use the vehicle and what the weather was like. And that is your instrument cluster, and it does have some nice detail. No numbers on the dials, of course, but it is 48 scale. You can't have miracles in 48 scale. But overall, really nice detail. Do like the tools. Everything is nice and sharp, and it will be quite impressive having this on the shelf next to a Messerschmitt, Focke-Wulf, Heinkel. All right, so that brings us to the end of this review. I'll give you some shots of this. And as I said, that brings us to the end of this review. So that is Italeri's Opel Blitz Tankwagen, Kfz.385, 148 scale, kit number 2808. Came out in, like this particular Battle of Britain one, came out in 2020. Originally came out in 2010. And as I said, if you can pick one of these up relatively cheap, it's a nice little accessory to go on your shelf next to your German aircraft. Price wise, overseas, I can't tell you how much it is, but in Australia, I'd be reluctant to spend $55 or there or more on something this size, but that's entirely up to you guys. Anyway, guys, as I said, that brings us to the end of this review. Thanks for watching. I hope you got something from it. Thank you for your likes and your subscriptions and your comments. They are always appreciated. And as usual, guys, until next time, Take it easy, stay safe, and I will see you later.